The 2019-2020 Erie Otters season was one of ups and downs. But what shined through was a team of resiliency that battled through adversity and ultimately accomplished its goal of ending a 2-year playoff drought, despite a season ending due to unprecedented circumstances. This assembled group of Otters boasted its oldest and most experienced core in 2 years, and they were hungry to prove their mettle to the rest of the league. The journey began with a new identity when the team unveiled their jerseys and look for the future at their annual banquet. The gold and navy color scheme was adopted as the team's primary colors in recent years, and the classic logo was updated to reflect that. The original Erie Otters logo, featuring the cartoon mammal carrying a hockey stick, was given new life in this update, removing a few colors from the palette to adhere to the gold and navy the team had adopted from Erie's hockey history. A secondary logo was introduced to the team's identity, featuring a realistic and ferocious-looking river otter placed in the keystone symbol to highlight the state of Pennsylvania as the home of the team. Optimism filled the Erie Insurance Arena as training camp began at the end of August. Erie returned a host of veteran players from their roster, including returning players Brendan Kishnick, Jamie Drysdale, Jacob Golden, Hayden Fowler, Daniel D'Amato, Chad Yetman, Jack Duff, Curtis Henry, Brendan Sellen, Luke Beamish, Daniel Singer, Maxim Golod, Brendan Hoffman, Emmett Sproul, Matthew McDougall, and Daniel Murphy. Joining the group would be first-year players Elias Cohen, Christian Kyrou, Aiden Campbell, Cameron Morton, Connor Lockhart, Noah Sador, and United States Hockey League veteran Austin Swankler. The continuity behind the bench continued with Chris Hartsburg, B.J. Adams, and Wes Wolf at the helm as the group set out to accomplish their goal and take the next step forward. As opening night at the Erie Insurance Arena approached, it was time for a new leadership group to be announced. And ahead of the team's first game, the Otters named veteran defenseman Jack Duff captain of the team. Duff would be supported by Chad Yetman, Maxim Golod, Curtis Henry, Hayden Fowler, and Jamie Drysdale as alternate captains as a new era of leaders was set. It was on to opening night against the Sudbury Wolves. The season opener immediately put the team's heart on display with a third-period comeback featuring 4 unanswered goals from the Otters to claim a 5-2 victory on home ice. That next night, Erie took to the road to visit the Hamilton Bulldogs in a wild Saturday night tilt. Offense was on display as the teams combined for 13 goals as the Otters skated to an 8-5 victory, with goaltender Aiden Campbell picking up his first career OHL victory, and Jamie Drysdale tying an Otters record for points in a game by a defenseman with a goal and 4 assists. That matches similar efforts by Steve Montador and David Froh. The Otters were on the march and back in the OHL playoff picture. The Otters pressed on through the last week of September and the month of October by picking up points in 9 of their 14 games. The month was highlighted by victories at home over the reigning OHL champion Guelph Storm and rivals Windsor Spitfires, and a shootout thriller with the London Knights to keep pace in the division as Erie sat tied for second place in the Midwest. Community has always been the heart of Erie's sports teams, and when one of the Otters' neighbors was devastated by the loss of a teammate, the team knew they had to help. The tragic loss of Erie Seawolves catcher Chase Numata in early September struck the baseball and Erie community hard. On Saturday, November 16th, the Otters teamed up with the Seawolves to benefit the newly established Chase Numata Scholarship, with Otters owner and governor Jim Waters beginning the game with a check presentation for $5,000 to the scholarship. On the ice, the Otters donned Seawolves-themed jerseys that would later be auctioned off to further support the scholarship. The game would need extra innings, as the Otters came from behind to tie the Steelheads at 4 in the third period with goals from Brendan Sellen and Austin Swankler. The overtime period would come down to a walk-off situation with just seconds left in the extra frame. Swankler would win an offensive zone face-off back to the blue line and head to the net when defenseman Jamie Drysdale pulled the trigger. Swankler would deflect the puck past the Steelheads goaltender for the game-winning goal and a walk-off win for the Erie community. A surge through November saw the Otters battling for Midwest Division supremacy. A streak of picking up points in 11 of 12 games dating to late October brought the team to Oshawa, Ontario for a showdown with the number 7 ranked Generals to take first place in the division. Erie came out flying to start the game, outshooting the Generals 18-8. The Otters broke the ice in the second period with Chad Yetman kicking off a career night with his first goal of the evening 27 seconds in. Erie kept the foot down as Brendan Sellon and another Yetman power play goal extended the lead to 3-0. Former Erie Otter Brett Newman helped draw the Generals within a goal. The game took a wild swing about halfway through the third period, though, with the Otters holding on to a one-goal lead. The Generals appeared to have tied the game up, but a new rule allowed the Otters head coach, Chris Hartsburg, to challenge the play on the ice where it appeared that goaltender Daniel Murphy had been interfered with in his goal crease. After an official review, the goal was called off, and Erie remained ahead by a goal on Hartsburg's first successful coach's challenge. That very next faceoff, Erie sprung to action with the faceoff win, then Jack Duff sprung Yetman off on a breakaway to complete the hat trick in front of his hometown crowd and handed Erie a 4-2 victory and first place in the division. Yetman's hat trick and Max Golad's 2 assists put both players at the 100-point plateau for their careers. Every OHL team faces challenges throughout the season, and the Otters endured their fair share as injuries up and down the lineup seemed like a weekly issue. The defense corps took an unexpected hit when veteran Luke Beamish elected to retire from hockey following injury issues. The group took one more hit when Daniel Singer elected to forego the rest of the OHL season to return home. With the roster depleted, Erie general manager Dave Brown decided it was time to add, with his group battling for a playoff spot in the Western Conference. The Otters acquired Drew Hunter from the Niagara Ice Dogs on November 1st, and he made his debut that night in London. Hunter would add another veteran presence in the locker room and a player with postseason experience to the lineup. The overage defender gave Erie a deeper and experienced blue line as they continued to chase the 2020 playoffs. As the holidays rolled around and the World Junior Championship was on the horizon, an Erie Otters player would once again be involved on the international stage. Jamie Drysdale made headlines for Team Canada when he was selected to the national junior team as an underage player. This wasn't the first time for the Otters to experience a talented young player joining Canada's national team, as Connor McDavid did the same twice while with Erie, once as a 16-year-old, once as a 17-year-old. Drysdale's coming out party was in the semifinals when he was thrust into a larger role due to a regular defender missing the game against Finland due to illness. Drysdale shined and even scored a goal to help Canada to a 5-0 victory and a berth in the gold medal game. Canada and Drysdale would claim another World Junior gold medal days later by defeating Russia 4-3, adding another title to the young defender's impressive resume. A new year was underway, and Erie continued their push for a return to the postseason. Unlike the last 2 years, Erie was in the market to add as the trade deadline approached in early January. Dave Brown was again hooking up with his previous trade partner in the Niagara Ice Dogs to acquire Kian Sopa. The Swiss forward brought a physical edge and scoring prowess that fit Erie's hard-to-play-against style. He would make his debut at the Erie Insurance Arena on Cancer Awareness Night on January 11th and needed just 2 minutes and 20 seconds into his first game as an Otter to make his presence known against his old team. On his first shift, Sopa would set up Hayden Fowler for a one-timer that would blast past the Ice Dogs goaltender for an early lead. The Otters rolled into third period with 3 goals, including Sopa's first as an Erie Otter, to seal the game with an empty netter. The night also raised nearly $5,000 for the Hammett Health Foundation's Hillman Cancer Fund for an Erie community win on and off the ice. The middle of February gave the Oshawa Generals a chance to exact revenge against the Otters at the Erie Insurance Arena after Erie handled the Gens on their home ice a few months back. It seemed like they'd get their wish as early on the visitors quieted the crowd with a 3-0 lead. Wouldn't be the only 3-goal lead that Oshawa held, as they appeared to run away with the game when they went up 5-2 early in the third period. If we learned anything about this group of Otters, it's that they don't quit. They needed a quick spark after Oshawa's 5th goal, and Chad Yetman provided that under a minute later to draw Erie to within 2. 5 minutes later, Emmett Sproul cut the lead to just 1 with his 12th of the season. Time was starting to wind down on the night, but the Erie faithful backed the Otters to finding a way to tie the game, with Brendan Hoffman providing the equalizer with just 3.5 minutes left in the game. The overtime period provided thrills, but a shootout was needed, with the Saturday night crowd looking for one more celebration. Erie's Jamie Drysdale would open the scoring for Erie to tie the shootout at 1, then Max Golad would erupt the crowd with his game-winning shootout move as the Otters completed the comeback and again spoiled an evening for Oshawa. Just 2 days later, the Otters were back in action on a Monday afternoon in Mississauga, Ontario, with another milestone about to take place. The tight checking of an afternoon game meant no team could make a mistake, and Erie's first-year goaltender, Aiden Campbell, took that to heart. A scoreless first period meant the goalies were dialed in, with Campbell stopping the first 8 shots he saw. He continued to provide a confident swagger between the pipes in the second period as the Otters' offense went to work. Daniel D'Amato scored the opening goal 6 minutes into the second period, followed by a Kian Sopa goal to extend the lead to 2-0. That was all the offense Campbell needed, as he would slam the door in the third period, stopping all 15 steelhead shots with 29 total saves on the day to preserve his first ever OHL shutout. The group could feel a playoff position was within their grasp as they battled down the stretch to gain a lead on the Sarnia Sting and Sioux Greyhounds for the final Western Conference spot. The Otters controlled their destiny as they moved into the final month of the regular season, needing just a few points to clinch a playoff berth for the first time since the 2017 OHL Championship. As the middle of March approached, the world froze with the global COVID-19 pandemic. All sports halted play as officials looked for answers. Unfortunately, many seasons and sports would not be able to resume or begin play, including the OHL. The final standings would see the Otters finish in 8th place in the conference with a playoff berth earned. Although there wouldn't be a playoff hockey game at the EIA in 2020, it was mission accomplished for a team that many didn't predict to do so. That missed experience also left a burning passion to accomplish even more in the next season. With much of the roster returning next season, the group will be poised to take an even bigger leap and surprise a league that has overlooked this group of Otters and their determination for success.